Okay, we're going to take a round of questions. We're going to start on this side. So must we do 5 and then we'll take another 5 so we don't have a whole list of questions and sometimes we miss. 1, 2, 3, 4. Anyone else on this side? And then 5. Then we'll move like that. You know the drill, yes? Name, media house, and question. Thank you.
Rest in.
Thank you, President. I think you need some water after that. Okay, we're going to take a round of questions. We're going to start on this side. So must we do 5 and then we'll take another 5 so we don't have a whole list of questions and sometimes we miss. 1, 2, 3, 4. Anyone else on this side? And then 5. Then we'll move like that. You know the drill, yes? Name, media house, and question. Thank you.
Siyamthanda Chapa, News 24. Mr. Malema, you've just outlined the requirements for being admitted into the People's Assembly. I know the process is ongoing, branches are meeting. Have any of the branches or regions been disqualified based on the 10% rule that you put in place? And in terms of the logistics, which embassies have you invited to your People's Assembly? With regards to Tshwane, a lot of the parties that are in the multi-party charter, including yours, have put their necks on the line. Do you believe those parties can turn things around in the municipality? And finally, with regards to Mr. John Steenhuisen and referring him to the Ethics Committee, how far is the EFF willing to go to ensure that the matter sees finality and that people who started working in that office are not paid? Thank you.
Good afternoon, it's Natasha Piri here from SABC News. Just as a follow-up to Siyamthanda's question, especially on Tshwane, given what happened yesterday, are we likely to see a reconstitution perhaps of metros where the EFF is involved, perhaps maybe Sedibeng? And then in August, following the regional assemblies that you held, the EFF's World Council in KwaZulu-Natal had instructed its PCT to rebuild branches and structures there ahead of December. How's that work going? Also, you mentioned in July at the EFF's anniversary that heads would roll in the Northwest and Limpopo. And of course, Limpopo, we see leadership changes. How's that work going ahead of the elective conference? And then I just also want to find out, you and the former Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, Dr. Naledi Pandor, remember you had made allegations against her. Do you still stick by them? Because she had said that you should provide evidence. If not, she'll take the matter further. You've mentioned the work of the EFF in Parliament and what you've managed to achieve so far. But I'm just also interested in knowing how the work of the Progressive Caucus is actually shaping up. Thank you.
Thank you, Natasha, for the many questions.
Naomi Kobe here with YFM. My question also pertains to the city of Tshwane. I think, Mr. Malema, of course, we are seeing, some tensions playing out between those GNU partners, the DA and ANC there. Firstly, what do you make of what is playing out in the city of Tshwane? Just your honest, open opinion there. And then do you feel, this is an opportunity for the EFF to, I suppose, strengthen and maybe regain some traction there in Gauteng and the city of Tshwane? Thank you.
Thank you, Naomi.
Kotatso Madisa from the Sunday Times. In relation to Tshwane, maybe to start there, do you as EFF believe perhaps that there should be sharing of mayoral chain with ANC having Joburg, Action SA now having Tshwane? Do you believe EFF should perhaps get Ekurhuleni? And then I think maybe these two should be linked. The proposal to move the branch in good standing from 100 members to 200 members, what is the rationale there? Is it not too high? And then maybe the one about maybe to expand on getting rid of the student command. What do you think would be the effect on universities? I mean, a lot of people a lot of parties are contesting. It's a very hotly contested terrain. I had another one. How do you think, or how do you propose the aligning of curriculum in universities or in higher education to industrial needs? I mean, how would that work? Do you think the curriculum as it stands should be overhauled altogether? Should there be addition of subjects? I mean, what are you looking at? Mining and maybe just an expansion on that. Thank you. Sorry for the long questions.
You're welcome. Thank you, Kokotso.
Good morning, Shannon Merricks from Kasi Broadcasting Africa. All protocol observed. My first batch, I'll deal with the EFF. Maybe later I'll come back to gossip and things like that if there's more time. It's clear from the statement that is made by the EFF president that EFF has done an audit of its branches, its members, and so on. With the National People's Assembly being in a few weeks, what is the strength, the weakness, the opportunities, and the threats for EFF going to the NPA, coming from the 2024 national elections and going to the 2026 national elections, if that can be answered as one? And then the student command being dissolved for the youth league, for lack of a better word. What's the future or the time frame for the Women's League as well? Last but not least, did EFF dump the Progressive Black Business Caucus in favor of the Gauteng Government of National Unity? I'll come back later. Thank you.
We're not giving you any more questions. Thank you, President.
Thank you very much. Of course, there are regions that are disqualified if your branches, like in KZN, we only have 14 branches that have met the requirement of 10%. Only 14, SG. Yes. So what we did, because there are so many branches that are disqualified by not meeting the requirement of 10%, we then invited branches that got 100 votes and above. Because for you to be a branch, you have to have 100 members in good standing. So why would you have 100 members in good standing and not get 100 votes if those are legitimate members? So but they are going to come as observers so that they come to appreciate that this thing of not working has got consequences. That invitation has been extended to KZN and the Western Cape. But everywhere else, it's a requirement of 10%. And that gives us is one delegate per branch and 2,123 qualified. So these delegates are going to be gender balanced because we have used a zebra approach. So if the first qualifying branch takes male, the second one must be a female, the third one male, the fourth one female. So because if we say one delegate per branch and we don't put that gender requirement, we are likely to have a hostel that looks like this new hostel that is formed in KZN. So we don't want to look like that. We remain committed to gender equality and the gender struggles. Things will turn around in Tshwane. And when we say the mayor must hit the ground running, we simply mean that, it shouldn't take a mayor 2-3 days to send the trucks to go and remove illegal dumping in Mamelodi. If you go to Mamelodi, you'll be shocked by the state of affairs. And you go to Mamelodi, you'll find people in Mamelodi queuing for water, something that we are used to in the rural areas, not in a capital city. So we have that situation, And because the party that was in government only focused on the white areas. So we hope the bringing in of the EFF, Action SA, the ANC, will have the interest for all, not the interest for black people or interest for white people, but with the priority being the black people, the African townships and colored townships, followed by Indian townships, and the white suburbs, because in the white suburbs they've got almost everything. But the colors and the Africans are the most excluded when it comes to service delivery in Tshwane. So we are for mayor sharing. We are for Tshwane, Action SA, Joburg, ANC, Ekurhuleni, EFF. But the ANC, in its form and character, is very disloyal to its own decisions, because they had agreed to this and then only changed later against what we agreed on. And it's the nature of coalition politics. You have to navigate them all the time. You don't say because we agreed on this and it's not working, then everything must collapse. No, you continue to battle it out. There is a huge intention to remove the EFF in Ekurhuleni for whatever reason, and we don't understand why is the leadership of Ekurhuleni hell-bent at removing the EFF, because there's a guy there called the doctor who's not so doctor in terms of qualifications like Guman, is a doctor by name, like Dr. Kumar. So what happens is that the guy is so incoherent and has got no clarity of thought, and he doesn't know what is really going on in terms of governance. And he's threatened by the young, capable leadership of the EFF, which is well articulate and forever on the ground servicing our people. So we're dealing with a mayor who suffers from inferiority complex and who wants to disrupt people, disrupt the whole service delivery on the basis of just being scared of Dunga. Dunga is a threat, a big threat to that guy. I don't know what that guy did. We had a discussion with the ANC not so long ago, and they said, they removed Dunga because of the budget. He was not listening to them on the budget, corruption and all of that. I said, you removed Dunga because you say you didn't put your needs in the budget. But surprisingly, 2 days after you removed Dunga, you went to present the same budget of Dunga without changing a comma, to demonstrate that it was not true that Dunga is not listening to them. They took what Dunga wrote and went to read it. I told them right on their face that stop lying, because it's a lie. You say he didn't listen to you. You get an opportunity now to get a budget, change it to include what you say Dunga was refusing to include. You didn't include anything, including a full stop or comma. Anyway, then you said Dunga is corrupt. That municipality, the period under Dunga, is winning award after award, because awards are not awarded during your term. I mean, they are during a year. After a year, there are, organizations, institutions that give awards. Go and look at Dunga's year. It's receiving awards, including a clean audit. And there's never been any scandal of corruption. Can we say that about the mayor? They want to remove the EFF because the EFF said the chief of police must be removed in Ekurhuleni because of sexual harassment cases against him. A group of men want to come to, a group of powerful men want to come together to defend a powerful man against vulnerable women who this man has been harassing. So we are not saying he's guilty, but we're saying allow the process to take place. The ANC was refusing that until we met with Panyaza and TK to put some sense into this doctor and Jongizizwe. And you could see, I told them, I said, they wrote a message, they said, there's no turning back today. We're done with the EFF. I said, okay, let's look at what happened to where we reached a point where you say, today, there's no turning back. What happened today? What happened today is that the EFF supported a motion of the suspension of Chief of Police. And you are fighting for an individual, you are hiding behind nonsensical issues. And once you see them behave like that, you must know the Chief of Police has got something on them. Because they can't reason it out. You can see these guys are scared. So we told them we really are not married to the positions. If they want to remove the EFF, they must feel free to do that. We have no problem with that. But we'll never succumb to corruption and sexual favors and refusing to promote people because they refuse to give you sex. And because we want to be MMCs, we must defend that. We refuse that. And we still refuse it to date. So we're not calling for any reconstituting of any municipalities. We want stability. And from the few days observation I've made as a head of GTU, not GNU, GTU. The mayor of Johannesburg, despite that he came in Chacharach with hiring people who would come from outside to be security officers. If he continues the way he's continuing, he's going to get this municipality stable. Because since he took over, there is some sense of what we are doing. And we want that kind of leadership with maturity. The deal in Tshwane, by the way, was made possible by Dada Morero, who did the behind the scenes for the sake of stability, starting here in Joburg, going into Johannesburg. So why would you want changes there? We just elected him and so far so good. Let's give Tshwane a chance. Let's leave that Domkop of Ikuruleni to expose himself. He's not gifted, he's got no talent. That thing, if he's not careful, it will collapse in his hands, but we won't allow that. The rebuilding of structures in KZN, we're all now busy with the NPA. And the focus is on the 14 branches that met 10% and on the other branches that are going to be the observer. So far, we're doing very well with regard to that. And in KZN, all our structures are intact. There's no any region or sub-region or whatever that has gone to any of the organizations that are currently formed in KZN. So, and we met with the structures in KZN. We met with the regions, we met with the province. They all gave accountability and were satisfied with the explanation that was provided by the leadership of KZN. They put up a fight. It was not easy for them. It was not an easy task. And we had to reflect about it as to what were we going to do differently if it was us, given that challenge these people were facing in KZN. So we don't see any element of laziness, of abandoning structures and organizational work from amongst the leaders of the EFF in KZN. So there's no need. We have resolved. SG, someone was telling me there's someone who says there's still going to be a CCT decision about KZN. The CCT has taken a decision to leave the structures of the KZN as intact as they are. We are going to rebuild KZN together with those existing structures. So there is no structure in KZN that is going to be disbanded. If it gets disbanded, it will not be on the basis of 2024 elections. It will be on their failure to engage in the rebuilding process that we are engaged in. Northwest, again, we got a satisfactory explanation from the leadership. The problem is in Buchanan. And we disband where the need arises. And we're still seized with that matter of Bujanala, where we lost almost 27,000 votes. We cannot leave that unattended to and unpunished. It's a matter we're seized with because Bujanala, it's a very critical region for us if we want to have an impact in Northwest. The ANC, in its articulation of 2024 elections, preparations, they had not counted Northwest in the top 3. That's how much they themselves had given up on Northwest. And then people go and play with such an opportunity because the ANC was saying, Northwest, well, it's gone. They were saying the top 3 is Limpopo, Eastern Cape, Mpumalanga. And then Mpumalanga was overtaken by Northwest. So even from the opposition point of view of the ANC people and their own internal research had confirmed that Northwest cannot be counted in the top 3 provinces of the ANC. But to our surprise, and because of what we have explained, we got ourselves in that situation, which is, fixable. We were going to fix it. I wrote progressive question. What is progressive? Caucus. Well, the progressive caucus is there. It meets every Tuesday. The chief whips meet to prepare for a week ahead. And we have been on oversight, parliament recess oversight. So there was never a need because the progressive caucus works on the basis of what is on the agenda of parliament, what do we want to put on the agenda of parliament, which areas are we agreeing on, and then it begins and ends there, doesn't go anywhere. You can't say, as a journalist, that 200 members are too high, because you must ask yourself how many votes win you a VD. 200 members or votes don't win you a VD. There's no VD you can win with 200 votes. Well, if we're serious about winning an election and we're serious about building a mass-based organization, movement, we need to demonstrate it through the membership. We're not married to all of these ideas. We're just throwing them out there for the public and for the delegates to reflect and take a decision. So tomorrow I must not come here and defend the decision to retain 100 members, and then they say, you see, it's a flip-flopper. Last week he said 200. It's discussion document. We must not engage in intellectual laziness. So even the student command, there is absolutely no disruption of the work that the student command is doing by introducing a youth command and say, today you are no longer called a student command, you are called a youth command, but everything else remains intact. There is just a name changing. Like the ANC Youth League. The ANC Youth League is in campuses, in the villages and in the township. So we don't want to create what the ANC created with the Youth League and SASCO, where they end up contesting and fighting each other in the campuses. So we want the youth to be under one umbrella body. And we support the leadership of the Student Command, and we commend them for the good work they are doing out there. They are fighting big battles without us getting involved. They are doing it on their own. We have deliberately stayed out of it because we want to train them as the third layer of leadership of this organization, such that when they graduate into the mother body, they know that this is how battles are fought, and we're happy with what they are doing. So we're just formalizing now the establishment of the Youth Command, which will retain the Student Command structures and then expand into the villages, townships, and suburbs, and then ultimately have its own conference. I can't put time frames now on the Women's Command or the Youth Command or anything. The conference will make reflections about that and then take a decision on time frames. And the new leadership will work on the basis of those time frames as determined by the conference. Our education has to be aligned to the objectives of developmental state and industrialization. So let's go to Limpopo, for instance. University of Venda, University of Limpopo, TUT, UNISA. Their primary focus must be on mining, must be on agriculture, must be on tourism, because that's what constitutes the core of the economy of Limpopo. So we cannot have a situation where the education of Limpopo continues to produce more teachers, yet there are no posts for teachers. If anything, the teaching posts are being reduced. So the education then becomes irrelevant to the industrial needs and the economic needs of that particular province. And this applies to everyone else. We should be having institutions of higher learning in the Western Cape that specializes with fishing, that specializes with the ocean economy. In the Western Cape, in KZN, in the Eastern Cape, and the other parts of Northern Cape. So we cannot have an education system that is not speaking to what are the demands of the economy of that particular province. And that's what we are advocating for. On top of a decolonized education that will be driven by Pan-Africanism. Wits University, it's a mining university. It produces the best mining engineers in the whole world. Wits University. It was formed by mining companies, the Oppenheimers, to produce relevant skills for the requirements of that time in relation to mining in Johannesburg and Gauteng. So, guided by that, of course, it has expanded to produce many other skills, but it hasn't lost focus of what it seeks to achieve. And we should have all of that. Why is University of Walter Sisulu University not producing what is relevant for the Umtata area? Why is the Nelson Mandela University not relevant to Gqeberha? Why is University of Limpopo not big on agriculture? The University of Limpopo should be owning farms that specializes with all types of farming, be it a crop or animals, livestock or crop. Why is there no big farm owned by the University of Limpopo that produces cabbages, that produces tomatoes, that produces mangoes? That those farms don't have to be by the university SG. They can be anywhere in Limpopo and relevant to what that soil produces. And they produce not only to educate, because with agriculture, you can also create revenue for the university. As they produce teaching in the process, they also provide the markets with the products of what they are producing. We farmers, some of us are farmers, we get kids from agricultural sectors to come and train in our farms. That is education. We are educating them. We are giving them practicals without being institutions of higher learning. But institutions of higher learning are not doing that. You have in Sesheu there is a Capricorn FET college. Right next to it, all those industries and factories are closed. Why can't that TVET college look at what could be relevant to these factories and teach those people and train them as well in these factories and produce? Because we used to produce textile. Clothes used to be produced in that industrial area in Sesheu. There is a huge demand for such things. The university can teach that, and not university, the TVET college can teach that, and in the process supply, especially the retail stores that are there. We can demand that you must take some percentage from the students here who are producing this thing. That is revenue to the TVET college, but equally a skill transferred to the students. And that's what we're talking about. There is no threat to NPA of the EFF, National People's Assembly, the thing we're talking about, prosecuting authority. There is no threat at all. Anyone who behaves outside the guideline will not see that Nazareth. And even if you arrive by mistake and you misbehave there, we take the tag. We remove, that's why we give them those things. We take that thing and show you the door. Everyone is going to behave according to the code of conduct, constitution, and the guidelines of the EFF. And everyone is going to observe the discipline of the chairperson of the session. When the chair says, put your hands down, there's no hand that can stand. For what? So all of those rules will be read to delegates at the conference. There is no one who's going to book delegates into any hotel. Delegates are going to sleep in a hotel booked and paid for by the EFF. When they leave the hotel booked by the EFF, they get into a shuttle booked by the EFF. No one outside that hotel, who slept outside that hotel, will get into a shuttle of the EFF. And delegates will have access to the conference through the shuttle of the EFF. If you come outside the shuttle of the EFF, then there should be an explanation. It means you are misbehaving. Because I know these things of conferences. People book hotels, buy alcohol, steal delegates and dump them there and give them a different discipline. We can't allow that. Okay, if we pay this hotel, when are you go and sleep in a hotel of a faction? What happens to this man of the EFF now? What must happen to this man of the EFF? We can't allow that. So there's no, even going into 2026 elections, there's nothing at all. What we are doing now, we did guidelines for election of what candidates. And we then put in the guidelines, which it will now be official by the NPA, that if the national officials are not satisfied with a candidate, they've got a right to remove that candidate. Because the candidates buy people alcohol on that day of nomination of the candidate. And then they get elected. But these are not community activists. This person is a common drunkard who pees publicly there. He's known. A drunkard. Then they say, this must be a candidate. And then you lose elections that you must win. You ask yourself how? You had a wrong candidate. And you have no mechanism to correct that. This thing that the chairpersons of branches and secretaries of branches and regions think that it is automatic to become a candidate. It's not. We can even go and fetch a pastor in your ward who's well respected, who aligns with the EFF, who joins the EFF. We say, no, we want this pastor to come. We want this principal to come. We want this teacher to come. Because the wards must be led by community activists, not by factionalists who are the best in lobby and then lazy in doing the actual work. Like in Tshwane now, after this, we are going to interview the potential MMCs. And you know what we are going to do? I was telling Leanne this morning. We are going to record the interviews on video for EFF archives. So that when these people don't make it, they don't speak nonsense about the EFF. You speak nonsense, we release the video. Or here's the person who says, now we didn't appoint him because we don't want him. Here's the interview of the person. Yeah. We need to start recording these people. Because they go out there and speak very bad about the organization as if they are the best. But they are not the best. They are the best factionalists who have no clue, none whatsoever, in what they want to do. They say they want to be MMCs or finance of this. We ask him a simple thing. What is the budget of Ikurlane? I agree you came here. You are being proposed as MMC of finance. You come to an interview. A simple thing of knowing the budget. Even if you are not exact, just around, this much. Some of these people we had not appointed in Johannesburg. And I was not head of GTU at the time. Some of the people we refused to appoint on the positions of MMCs could not tell us what does JMPD stands for. But we want to be an MMC of public safety. And when we don't appoint, we get spoken bad about, and we have nothing to back ourselves up. This is the person who says he wants to be a leader. In the EFF, you can lead if it's fine. You agree you are lobbying. You're doing what democracy. That is not. That's a deployment. There must be a different criteria, and that's what we are doing because we are serious about service delivery. Not about factionalism, not about who support who. We're not interested in that. We're interested in do you know what you want to get yourself into? Do you have an appreciation of what this animal is? Thank you.
Steenhuisen.
Oh, Steenhuisen. What about him?
Him hiring unqualified illiterate whites.
Yeah, busy guy now. We're busy with that one. It's in the ethics there where I sit. And these people can't be paid. Because if they get paid and they are unqualified, they themselves are getting themselves in trouble. Because once it is found that they were not qualified and not deserving of those salaries, they are going to be asked to pay back that money. And they are putting themselves into big trouble. Steenhuisen must just know ijampile. Unarwa mogola is not waking. He must leave it. But because he's a matriculant and he loves matriculants himself, he's so married to that idea of hiring unqualified people. So we're not going to sit back. We've told all of you that DA is led by mediocrity. and is saved by white skin. Because they are white, you don't critique them the same you are critiquing us. Today, you made us the face of corruption. Mashaba tells you every day, no leader of the EFF came to me when I was a mayor to ask for a tender, but we are the face of corruption. And he says, Tony Leon came to my house to ask for a tender. So, but DA is not a face of corruption because it's white skin. DA survives through Swar Khafar. So they put my face to scare white people. They've made me a political ho-ho of white people. When white people are about to shift, they say, oh, and then they run away. But we supported DA here and they were ready to receive our support under Mashaba. Why didn't they say, no, we can't take the support of people who are going to kill us, who are going to destroy white life? We even supported the illiterate in Ekuruleni madam, who was very scared to go to Tembisa of DA, that madam. Madam, why that time when we were voting for her, she didn't see Swar Khafar? It's not real. And white supremacists, racist supremacists are gullible. They get told lies and they believe those lies. And they want to behave like white people are generally smart. But they can't see this is a lie. They're just scaring us here. These guys have got nothing against white people. They are fighting for equality. Whereas we speak in English, they hear the message more than all of us. And then on Mamana Lady Shemai, I was making a political engagement in that interview. It's a political speech. It's a political speak. And I raised her name, and she clarified those things, that she has never been involved in those things and all of that. And she wrote a letter to me to ask for instruction and all of that. And I said, look, it's a political engagement. I respect you so much, and I've accepted the explanation you have given, and I don't intend to pursue that line, because now there is more clarity on what really transpired. And I've sent that letter, and I don't want to engage with her in a public spate. It's one of the respectable former ministers of our country who's at the forefront of fighting the struggles for the total liberation of Palestine. Why do you want to go into confrontation with such a person? So I did not say that to want to negatively impact on her image or anything. I was engaged in a political engagement. And she came back and said, no, but you are wrong. I'm not involved in the way you are describing it. I don't know what you're talking about and all of that, and accepted that. And that's a political engagement. That's how it works. So political speech is protected by the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa. And that speech is presented differently from how lectures are presented in lecture halls. So we can't, when we're engaged in political speech, always be threatening each other with letters. I've written back and I said, look, I don't want to fight with the minister. I engaged the way I engaged, and she engaged the way she engaged. I accept clarity, and I don't want to pursue that line of argument. So that's the end of it. If she wants to pursue it, that's her own issue, but I'm not in that space anymore. Thanks.